Sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you unless you're from that cockeyed, ooperdink way of thinking, where you grew up in a padded room, all cushioned in cotton and never been on the streets, locked up in your bedroom. Yeah, not even homeschooled, just give me education on the internet. Anyway, trapped in a cocoon. And I remember way back in the day when I first went to college, the dean got up in front of the students and us freshman class, that is, and said, look to your left and look to your right, and one of you three ain't gonna be here for graduation. And on that first day of college, the dean addressed the students, pointing out some other rules. Back then, the female dormitory was totally out of bounds to male students, and the male dormitory likewise was out of bounds to the female students, and anybody caught breaking this rule would be fined $20 for the first offense. And then he continued, anybody caught breaking this rule for the second time, it would be 60 buckaroos. And if you got caught the third time, it would be a hefty fine of $180 buckaroos. And let me tell you, back then 180 buckaroos was some serious money. Some of them state schools, that would be a whole semester's tuition. And at this point, one of the male students in the crowd jumped up and inquired, how much for a season pass, Dean? Oh, we were a bunch of cantankerous people back then. We weren't afraid of authority, and we didn't do what three-letter agencies told us to do. It was the people power and a time of flower power. Seemed like some people were revolting. I remember they went to Chicago. I remember the March on Washington. And I remember the march to free Angela Davis, and how much trouble was caused there on the subways when somebody stole an officer's pistol. And yeah, well, jumping on buses and rocking away. You know, you can lead beings like us to knowledge, but you can't make us think. Time spins around again. Days turn to years, and nighttime reveals the true nature of this lousy deal. Stories past of emboldened glories and hidden tales of powers yet unknown. Ancient creatures, old in splendor spent, are medically sealed in a mason jar floating on the seven seas. Karnak knew, lead a human to knowledge, you can't make it think. Sounding the drums of forgotten secrets, near and far. Karnak knew, lead a human to knowledge, can't make it think. And then they became more emboldened, and nighttime revealed the true nature of the deal. Days turned to years, and time spun around again, and hidden tales of power yet unknown. Ancient creatures, old in splendors, hermetically sealed in a mason jar, floating on the distant seven seas. Sounding the drums of forgotten secrets, a heart longing, forgotten, pumping life into it again. History keeping, history hiding, history creeping from behind an age-old machine, leading us beings to knowledge, though you can't make a human think. Well, to nowadays, people drive Ubers, and I remember back in the day, me and a buddy, we put together a gypsy cab in Manhattan, and we'd ferry people back and forth from Harlem. And I remember one night I picked up a young lady from a college dorm, NYU I think it was. And she She sat in the front seat and we were chatting, and suddenly she sneezed. Now, I didn't realize it while we were talking, but she had a glass eye, and when she sneezed, the glass eye came flying out at me. I caught it and handed it back to her, and she popped it back in and said, "Thank you." I didn't know what else to say, so we rode in silence for a long time, till we got to the comedy club, and when we arrived, she turned to me and asked me if she could have my number. I was flattered because, well, she was so pretty. But I told her I was happily engaged, and she smiled at me and said, "That's a shame. You caught my eye."